Good day. In this video, we're going to look at an example question about geometric sequences and series. We will be applying all three of these formulas: the term formula, the sum formula to infinity, and the rule for convergence. I assume you know that A is the first term of the series and R is the constant ratio. And the n that we use everywhere is, like everywhere in maths, is the number, in this case of the term, the number of terms. I see this is a level 3 question, not so much about the questions, but about the numbers that they choose. The question says, in a geometric sequence, the second term is 16/3 and the seventh term is 81/2. Just using this piece of information, I can now already work out what my A and my R will be. And following on this, they can ask about anything of sequences and series. They can ask, calculate the general term, or Tn. Write the sum of the first n terms in sigma notation. Is the sequence convergent, and then justify why you say so. Calculate the sum of the first 5 terms, and many more questions. We're going to handle these 4. What you do is you always work out A and R, and you get the formulas that you use close at hand, which I put here for us. If they don't provide them on a formula sheet to you, you quickly write them down, because you should know them by heart, and make little notes that you feel like making next to them. I take this information that they gave me. It says, in the geometric sequence, the second term is 16/3. So I write, using this formula, term 2 is AR, because I know the n is 2. 2 minus 1 equals 16/3. Then they said, term 7 is 81/2. So I write, term 7 is AR, 7 minus 1 is 81/2. Then I have AR is 16/3. First part of a simultaneous equation, and AR6 is 81/2. Now we will do simultaneous equations. I will show you 2 different methods. The one that suits you is the one you use. The one method is, you take this first part of the simultaneous equation, get the A alone by dividing by R on that side, and you get A is 16/3R. Take this one, also get the A alone, you divide by R to the power of 6 on that side and get this answer. Now you have A alone, and you can just equate these 2. Then we'll have this equation. Then we times by the LCD to get rid of the denominators, which is 6R to the power of 6 is my LCD. The new equation will look like this after you times by the LCD. You simplify both sides separately. Divide by 32 on both sides. Then you fifth root both sides. You get your answer R equals to 3/2. There you have your ratio now. I then store it in one of my memories of my calculator. That's why I wrote a B over there. Now we replace that R that we worked out back into equation 1 that we had up here. So I just rewrote the equation here. Then you substitute the R into the equation. Then you divide by 3/2 on both sides, and you get your value of A is 32/9, and I store that in another memory then. Please stop the video and get your brain around what we did here. I told you I was going to give you a second method. You could have taken these 2 simultaneous equations and written them on top of each other with a divide in between. I always take the one with the biggest R and put it on top, and the other one underneath, but it doesn't really matter. Then I've got like a division equation here. Then you can cancel. A goes in itself once, and A goes in itself once. This R goes in itself once, and that becomes R to the power of 5. And then you divide these 2 into each other using your calculator. That then gives you R to the power of 5 is 243/32. Then you fifth root both sides, and then you end up with the same R that you worked out over here. Then you substitute it back into either 1 or 2 like we said, like we did down here, and you get your A value again. So now we have R and A ready in our memories. Now, since we've worked out what A and R is, we can now answer their questions. They said calculate the general term Tn. We have the term formula available. You substitute the A and the R in here, and then there is your general term. They do want us to simplify it a little bit better, but you can also write this as your final answer. Using exponents, laws, we will expand this right-hand side and then times these two together. Then we'll have our final answer. Tn is this. Please remember, you're not allowed to times this and this with each other. We stop here. The next question asked, write the sum of the first n terms in sigma notation. Please go and look at the video on this channel that says sigma notation. The first thing you do is you write down the sigma sign. Then they say, write the sum of the first n terms. That n you put at the top of the sigma sign. We always write down here n equals to 1. And you always put the general term over here. Please stop the video and get your brain around these two questions and how the answers look. The last two questions said, firstly, the third one, is the sequence convergent and justify? Firstly, we say it is not convergent. And it is because the 3 over 2 is not lying between -1 and 1, like the formula told us over here for convergence. But we rather write a small essay and say R is 3 over 2 is not a value between -1 and +1. Please stop the video and just get your brain around this question. A lot of people have trouble with this because they say why and how is convergent. It's not so difficult to answer. The last question asks, calculate the sum of the first 5 terms. We will now go to the sum formula, fill in the 5 in the place of n there and there, the a that we worked out there and the r that we worked out there, and then use a calculator. This is where you can use the memory of your calculator, then you don't have to do so much typing on your calculator. And you plug all these numbers into your calculator. Then you have your final answer that you can write any way of these 3 ways. Please stop the video and get your brain around this. Please indicate whether you liked or disliked the video and subscribe to the channel. If you run into a sequences and series school mathematical problem, you may take a clear picture of it and where you tried it and send it to this number. And then we will try and solve the problem for you and send back a memo as soon as possible.